Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge, Brains. You're back at your favorite spot. How you doing? I tip my hat to you. You're at the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today, we are with an emotional blockbuster. Okay? We're talking to Sherry McClurkin. I'm glad to talk to her. She is a sister that walks by faith and not by sight. And what she is trying to do is help the empathic woman to decompress some of that compassion. Show yourself some grace, some love. A therapist, she knows what she's doing. I'm going to ask her what is the difference between therapy and coaching. Two different zones of genius. She is a coach, she's a speaker, she's a writer, and again, she's an emotional blockbuster. And I'm telling you, there is some people's nuts that need to be busted right now because they're an emotional nightmare. So let's welcome her to the show. How you doing, Sherry?
Oh, that is quite the introduction, April. Doing great, thank you.
Good. I'm so glad to have you here. Somebody that speaks the same language that I do, because I tell you, it's crazy. It's just, I've never seen such chaos just with anything. You go to the grocery store and folks is mad. Gas station, they mad. McDonald's, they mad. TV, they mad. Everybody's mad. But we're not mad. I'm not mad. You mad?
I'm not mad.
Because when you're mad, you're distracted.
That's right.
And when you're distracted, you're thrown off your game. And that's what people want to do. They want to keep us in chaos. They want to keep us confused so we don't know what's coming at us.
Oh, man, we could have an entire month of conversations about that kind of stuff. So I really encourage people, yes, you're mad, angry, legit. I would say there's a lot of legitimate reasons for that. Here's the difference. The difference is you've let it take over. Mm-hmm. You're not getting anywhere by letting it take over. All it does is tap into your fears. It taps into the sense of helpless. That's what happens. I would call that emotional block. That's what happens when an emotional block takes over. So what we want to learn to do, and what I teach people to do, is make that difference. So learn what's going on with you, what's underneath that. You've got some fears underneath that. You've got a sense of helpless underneath that. You can harness that anger. You can harness that fear and use it to make some difference in your life. And that's what I help people do, to understand not to let it take over, not let it to shut out, because we lose empathy, we lose compassion, we lose problem-solving abilities when those emotional blocks like anger take over, when fears take over, when sense of helplessness comes up and takes over. We lose our compassion for ourselves and for others.
My daughter was saying something about something that she saw on TikTok or whatever, and she said, don't lose your dignity.
Exactly.
Walk away at least with your dignity. Have some integrity. Have some accountability.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about you and how you found yourself in this space, your story, your journey, and your truth.
Absolutely. I actually love my story now. And that's something I think a lot of people need to learn to do also, is love your story. Love your story. It built you to where you are now. You don't like where you are now. Your story's not over. Your story's not over. It feels like it's over at each moment, like we're going to be that forever. I grew up in an alcoholic family. And what is normal about any kind of alcoholic family, or if there's any kind of addiction, is everything rotates around the addict. keep trying that our brains tell us if we just tiptoe enough, if we're just nice enough, if we're
Right.
just quiet
Right.
enough, if
Right.
we're just this, then the addict won't explode or the addict won't do their thing. And those are lies. But we're trying so hard to control the situation because it's out of control,
Right.
and we don't like that. And
I
rightly
have
so.
I have a situation with a family member that is a drug addict,
Hmm.
and I had to call him on it.
Yeah.
First, it was a little this, then it's a little that. Now they're adding this. Now you're stacking because
Yeah.
you're chasing what you perceive to be right there, and you're never there. And I just had to pull myself back because it was emotionally tormenting
That's
me
right.
to see
That's
them
right.
destroy themselves. And then the
That's right.
response I get, well, it is what it is. Okay, well, it is what it is over there. And until you want to change that, or
Yeah.
something devastating happens, that's
Right.
fine. Then you'll get it. But until then, there's nothing I can do for you. But I cannot continue to contribute my emotions to that either because it tears us down.
That's exactly right. So I grew up in that. And when you grow up in that, you learn anxiety and you learn fear and you learn tiptoeing around and you learn that your emotions aren't welcome because all of that stuff you were taught contributes to the emotional chaos of a family that has an alcoholic parent or an addicted parent or any addicted family member that has enough influence. It all becomes about them. So, as a kid, my emotional needs were neglected, not because my parents were terrible parents, but because there was an addiction going on, and
Right,
all
right.
their energy was going towards that.
That was a third party.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of saying it, right? There was a third party. So I had to unlearn, I had to go through a journey myself, which is why I now help people who have been in similar situations or whatever your situation was that created, and I'm calling them emotional blocks, that inability to just be yourself, that inability to even know what is myself.
Mm.
There's so many people walking around who don't know who they are.
The
They
imposter
really have no
syndrome.
concept.
The imposter syndrome. They are,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at people, and I was telling somebody the other day, truth is not truth. Truth is perception. Now, it's what you want it to be. Go along to get along. If I tell you all day long that top you have on is white, you're going to start seeing white. It's a part of the programming. It's a part of the distraction. It's a part of the manipulation. And so we have to pull back and show ourselves some grace. Grace is my favorite word now.
Yeah, it's a beautiful word.
You have to do that because, again, we walk by faith and not by sight.
Yeah.
Just that you wake up in the morning is a gift. Your
Yeah.
next breath is a gift. People take all of this for granted.
Right.
You talk about that you're an emotional blockbuster. You know, emotions, I don't know, emotions, we can't get beyond that. That's how we process from our frontal lobe. That's the first thing is you do is you get emotional. Somebody says something to you, you go from a flicker to a flame. How do we slow down? How do we start to
Yeah.
block those emotions?
So if I'm going to make just a minor tweak of what you just
Sure.
beautifully said. This frontal part, that's actually our higher level. All our emotional stuff is more back.
Oh,
But
really?
yes, this is what we lose when we are overcome with emotions. We lose actual some of our ability to access our higher level. Our empathy and compassion are higher level. Problem solving and brainstorming are higher level.
Okay.
We need those things. We need those. So losing ability to get to those or even lessening that ability is huge. So what happens is we have a sensory parts of our brain. So sensory, like, the part of the brain that deals with taste, the part of the brain that deals with hearing, the part of the brain, touch, sight, all of this, the parts of the brain that deal with that, when we are in a high level of emotion, those are hijacked. I call it hijacked. But we can hijack them back because we actually have more control over that than we recognize. We're not taught this. I think we should be taught this at home when we're babies and when we're in elementary school and we're kindergarten. Kids absorb this kind of stuff. So all we really need to do is hijack back our sensory stuff. That is, it's really that simple and that complex at the same time. But we don't have to worry about exactly what's going on in the brain, but know that it is not your fault that you're reacting the way that you are. It is your responsibility to do something about it.
Okay.
It's not your fault. It was taught into you. It was trained into you.
Right.
Right? It was trained into you. You had examples. Your brain made weird decisions as a kid as to what was safe and what is not safe because it was a kid's brain.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we carry that into adulthood, like it or not, what you're shaped, what you experienced in childhood. And a lot of people want to deny this, but no, your past actually matters. I hear it all the time. I don't want to talk about the past.
From the womb to the tomb is what they said.
Yeah, so it matters.
Yeah, I can think about things that happened to me. I'm 62.
Yeah.
That happened to me when I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
I can still feel certain things. Certain smells will spark an emotion.
Yes.
Yes. Deja vu.
Sensory.
You know? Yes.
Our sensory parts of our brain are strong. Very really strong. And taking like fear and anxiety. Here's the way the brain works in a simplistic terms. You can only have anxiety or a strong sensory input right in front of you. You can't have both because it's the same brain pathways. Your brain has to choose. Am I going to hold on to the anxiety? Hopefully I'm using the correct fingers. Am I going to hold on to the anxiety or am I going to pay attention to this sensory input right here and now? That's why you hear about like breath work. That's a sensory input right here and now. That's why you hear about those five things of what, like look for 5 colors or, whatever those are, because I don't use any of those.
Okay.
Right. I go beyond that because what I want to teach your brain is to do different from here on out. And we do different from here on out by doing things like I always use ice cold water, because that is a strong enough sensory input. Just drinking the water, just putting it on my cheek, ice cold, just putting an ice cube in my mouth is a strong enough sensory input that if I'm feeling anxious and I put an ice cube in my mouth, the brain has to choose which one am I going to pay attention to.
Right.
It can only do one. That's the way we're wired. It's just simply the way we're wired. So I work with people on that. But that's beyond that. We do that simply to get some calm and some rational, our ability to have this. So once we have that, then we can look at, okay, now why were you actually reacting the way that you were reacting? And what do we need to change in there? What's going on there that we need to change? What's the thought process? What's the emotional anchor so that we can change those?
Right.
Change those. So
and it gives you time to take a breath.
Yes.
I had a teacher tell me one time that if you put a piece of candy in your mouth, you can't say anything negative. And I'm telling you, I always have candy on my desk. When I was working in corporate America and they would get on my nerves, the first thing I do is reach for a piece of candy, and I couldn't say anything negative. And again, like you said, like the ice cold water. I have another guest that came on my show, and I think she was a therapist as well. And she said when she gets into a heated discussion or something sparks her or triggers her, she just gently touches her face.
Yes, sensory input.
And I've tried that, and I was like, oh, here's that emotion again. Okay, what are we going to do with it? It changes the whole deal. It changes the whole deal.
It does. So part of this, what I teach, and I have a 5-step, RENEW, renew, 5-step. The first 2, R is recognize and respect your emotions and mindsets, because we can't even start if we don't even know what's happening. So we learn to recognize what's happening. So what's happening? Can you name that emotion? And it doesn't matter if you're exactly right or not. That's not mattering. What matters is that you start noticing without judgment. It's not right and wrong. It's not good and bad. It's just stuff. Emotions are just things passing through. You know that's true. We all experience it. 5 minutes. You can experience one thing now, and 5 minutes later, you're experiencing another emotion. They are just passing through. But when they get strong, it feels like they're going to stay. And that's not true. And that's why that's R is recognize and respect your emotions and mindsets. And the first E is engage in calm in mind and body and emotions. And that's what we were just talking about. That's the sensory input. And I love the thing in your mouth. What I would add to that, I would say make sure it's a strong mint or a strong cinnamon. So not only are you not able to say anything, but you're also experiencing a very strong sensory input, which is then telling your brain, oh, I got to pay attention to that because it's right here and now. Anxiety is not right here and now. Fear is not right here and now. Anger is not right here and now, unless it is. Generally,
say that again right now, because that's an illusion that people, this fear is right now. It's like a person that doesn't like to fly. You're not even on an airplane.
Exactly. Right? That's why the brain is going to choose the sensory input, because it's right here and now. It's right here and now. If we're anxious about something that's going to happen tomorrow, or we're very fear of the future, that's a lot of what people are experiencing right now, fear of the future. The future hasn't come, so your brain has nothing to grasp onto, so it's just going to keep adding to that fear and then anxiety, because it's like, I don't know what the heck's going on, so it just keeps adding to it. What we really need is to calm ourselves in the moment, recognize what's going on with us, engage in the calm, so that we can then look at, what is it that I feel so helpless? What do I need to change in me that I feel so helpless about the future? No, I can't make any changes on all these big things going on over here, but I can change something here.
Girl, you preaching to the choir. I'm gonna send this to a couple people that I've had to cross out, and I had to cross them out because they are letting what's going on in mainstream media.
Yes,
are letting that consume them. And I asked them personally, have any of those things, as of this moment, impacted you outside of your mental being? Are you without a home? Are you without food? Has your money been cut off? Is your medical benefits, any of this stuff that's going on, has it impacted you right now? Well, no. And all you have is the present.
That's right.
Not promised, and the past is gone. So why are you tripping off of that? Now, when it impacts me, then what you need to do is have a strategy on how to deal with it and how to cope with it. But the first thing you got to do is you got to recognize what it is and calm the F down.
So I would tweak that slightly. Yes, the concept, absolutely 100%. Yes, and it's okay to be angry and upset about the weird things that are happening that, yeah. But go back to what I said earlier. Harness that. Okay, first we recognize and respect what's going on, and then we calm it down. And now we're looking at a mindset change. The mindset, because that's the in. Nurture new mindsets. The mindset change is, I'm not helpless. Whether it's happened to me or not, I'm still not helpless. I can write letters. I can make phone calls. I can do protests. I can get involved with the media. There are lots of things we can do. This taps into where we feel like we're helpless, but we're not. This is ultimately, at least in the US, ultimately is run by the people. And the people just have to make enough noise long enough, and things will change. Things will change. And we do have checks and balances in our government. We're talking about government stuff, and this is all I'm going to say about it. There are checks and balances. It's just slow. But it will speed up the more people speak up. If it's really bothering you that much, then go take that, harness it, do something, instead of sitting in fear, helpless, I can't do anything, it's going to happen to me, it's so terrible.
right. Well, let me interject this. Sister that walks in Christ.
Yes.
And again, but we having an honest conversation here on the edge.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the situation. We walk by faith and not
Yeah.
by sight.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of people that are just numb to it. Oh Lord, I don't
Oh
have
yeah.
to do nothing because the Lord gonna take care of me.
Oh.
I ain't got to, and I ain't got to worry about this. And it's this, they don't want to take action. Or on the flip side of that, you've got so many people that are self-righteous that
Mm.
they feel that it's my way or the highway, and
Yes.
and that we don't have free will and we don't have choice. So now, what do you say? Because I know that again, that is a part of your principle and
Yep.
your work
Absolutely.
doctrine, is that you work in the faith, in faith. And I'm a firm believer in faith because he's carried me through the 62 years.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that you have to bury your head in the sand, nor does it mean that you have to be the serpent with your head bobbing up out of the ground. Where's the balance here, coach?
So yeah. Yes, and just to clarify, I am a coach. That's past, was a trauma focused therapist for over 10 years. I am currently a
And
coach.
I disagree. Once a therapist, always a therapist. I mean, you may not be practicing, but
Well,
you understand. You
that's a
can't.
coined term, and I can get in trouble if
Oh,
I
okay, all right. Well,
cross lines.
yeah, we
So
don't. Yeah, we don't want to do that. But what I'm saying is, the therapeutic part of you were trained
yes,
in this.
yes,
This is
yes,
not just willy nilly brains that she just all of a sudden. Oh,
correct.
yeah, I decided to do this.
Right. I've got all the
Stop.
credentials and degrees and all that stuff back there. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love your question, April. I absolutely love that. I always direct people to look at what Jesus did. Look at what Jesus did. Jesus spoke up. Who did he call out? He called out in his case, he's calling out the Pharisees who are feeding the people lies. The Pharisees were saying, oh, you have to live the way we say. Same kind of thing we're dealing with in a lot of ways. Live the way we say, follow the rules we say. Those things weren't part of what God set out for them. Jesus called them out. Jesus got mad. Jesus was angry, and Jesus took action. In the temple, we have example of when he went to the temple and people were being overcharged and all sorts of scams being set up because they genuinely needed certain animals for the animal sacrifices, which thankfully Christ did once and for all, that we don't have to do that anymore, because I can't imagine having to do animal sacrifices, but they did. They had to do that, and not because the animal meant something. It was to show them there's an owing. Your sins cost something, right? But Jesus came in and turned the tables over in the temple. Now, I'm not suggesting anyone turn tables over unless that's really appropriate, but he did that because they were scamming the people who were coming to the temple to pay their price for their sins, because that's the only way they had to do it at that time.
But what people are doing now is they're paying for sins because not by fact, but by fiction. They're going along to get along.
Yeah.
Read the text for yourself. Again, that's what I had to do. I was a part of one of these big mega churches. Hallelujah. And the word got so convoluted. I would read the text. I'd go home and I'd read it for myself.
Yes.
I got a little bit of a different interpretation because I read
That's right.
Hey, you have to have your own personal relationship.
That's right.
With, I call it Gus, God, universe, and spirit. Yes, you got to have your own personal relationship, and it will be interpreted based upon what your needs are. What's for Sherry is not for April.
That's right.
Everybody has their own divine purpose. And I'm glad that you have decided to not give up on the work that you did, not give up on the individuals that need you, that need your expertise, not forsake your love, because that is an agape love. It takes
Yeah.
a lot of love to work with folks that's got challenges. Girl,
Yeah.
I tell you,
Yeah.
you know.
Particularly because my favorite people are those who are, as you mentioned before, empathic. Maybe they consider themselves sensitive. They might even consider themselves hypervigilant. And that's the truth
Hmm. Hmm.
because of what they went through and what they were taught and what they had to do, what they're nervous. This is really all nervous system, by the way.
Hmm.
That's why we can change it because it's not who you are. You are not the anger. You are not the anxiety. You are not the empathy. You are different than that. Your identity has nothing to do with what your nervous system and your brain does. Honestly,
So tell
that's a
me,
mind blowing concept right there. Your identity is not your job. Your identity is not your emotional state. That's not your identity.
okay. Well, people again, they put that at the forefront, like on their resume. This is who I am.
Yeah, it's our
And
language.
they never really have that I am conversation. Who are you
Yes.
really? Who are you?
Yes.
Do you know who you are? One day I sat here and I wrote 50 I ams. And I was impressed. And so I'm going to try to go for 75. Because again, I am more than what I
That's right.
look like on YouTube. What I look like to my husband. I've been married to him 41 years. And we had a conversation the other day, and we both looked at each other. It's like, really? It was like meeting a brand new person. It was
Oh,
beautiful. So
yes.
define for my guests, my brains, what is the difference between a therapist and a coach?
Oh, good question. I love that question. So, high level, the difference between a therapist and a coach, a therapist is highly trained, is licensed. You have to have certain degrees, you have to have certain backgrounds, you have to pass a background test, you have to keep continuing education, and you are licensed by each state, and there's a state board that oversees your license and has certain rules, and they control the rules. High level, coach doesn't have any of that. All right, that's just one high level. So you got to think about where does your coach come from? You know, what is it they're bringing to the table? So like I happen to be bringing that. I was a therapist. I did have all that. I still have the degrees, all the training, all the knowledge, all the continuing education is still all there. That doesn't go anywhere. The only thing I gave up was the license. And I gave up the license because I just got to a point in my life where the rules were getting so much more and more and more and more that I was like, yeah, I just don't want all these strings attached. I just want to help people. Can I just help people? Because so many of the rules have nothing to do with helping people. It is legal. It's legal stuff. And I'm like, I just want to help people. I just want to help people. I don't want to have to worry about how I wrote something or whatever. Just
Right.
want to help people. So a coach, I'm free from all that. Yeah, go ahead.
But the reason why I bring that up is because I want people to understand clearly the type of or the level of integrity that you come with your coaching.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I mean, it's not, you're going to get somebody that has had, a 3-month course.
Yes.
And again,
True.
yeah, and they are going to preach the gospel. They know everything about everything. And what people have to understand is too, when you deal with a coach, look at a football team, look at a basketball team. They are there to support you. They are there to encourage you. They're there to help you make corrective action. They are not there to dictate who you should be, change you. They're to work with you and mold you and help bring out your integrity,
Yeah.
help you shine your light. And that's what I really know in my heart of hearts that you can do for people because, again, you've had all of that. You could go back to that if you wanted to,
I could
but
go back to that.
you want to go to the core level. I want to help you. I want to help you at the soul level so that you don't need to go to therapy, that you have somebody on your team. Brains, when you're picking a coach, you better be careful because you are not just investing your money, but your time, your energy. They are mentoring and molding you. And if I get a coach, baby, you better be exuding what I need from you out of your pores because I
Beautifully
don't
said.
want it, but I don't want to be like you. I want to ascend to be above you. I want
Yeah.
to take it to that next level. And then I want to know that you're there to support me and encourage me and be happy that I have gone there. There's so many people that don't want you to be on their level.
No.
You know? They want to keep you stagnated. They want to keep you stuck. You better have a good conversation with this person. You better really do the deep dive and know this is what you want and hold them accountable. You're paying them more than money. And I know that Sherry is going to be dynamite to work with. I mean, I just talked to her for a few times and I get goose pimples. Okay? Because she's not about, she's not about the shit and giggles. Brains, excuse my French. She's the real deal.
Yeah.
It is based in a doctrine. I don't care what religious doctrine you come from. You better know that there's somebody above you. Okay?
Yeah.
You better worship them, because that breath is the very first gift and it will be your last gift. And we didn't give it to ourselves. Know that we have covered the gamut here.
We
have been at the table here and talked to an amazing coach, a speaker, a writer, a woman of faith, someone that wants to help you at the core level, that wants to do the deep dive and give you the tools to walk away with that you're able to use moving forward from her previous life experience and her training and the things that she's done. So again, you have so much to look forward to when you're working with Sherry. Now let's ask you some fun questions. How about that?
Yeah, do it.
All right. If you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
Flowers, I love flowers. If you saw my house, like the quilt on my bed, it's flowers. That I have on my wall, I have a print of this black and white zebra who's wearing flowers. So I love flowers. I use a rose as my kind of symbol in my for my business a bit, and colors just attract me, so I can't choose one flower, but I use a rose, and rose is a wonderful symbol because you have the thorns. It's like you can have, because life is like that, right? It's beautiful and it's painful. That's reality. Let's not fight that anymore. It's beautiful and it's painful. It smells good and there's challenges, right? So it's all in how you approach it. Am I going to look at the rose and say, dang, that's such a gorgeous flower, it smells so wonderful? Or am I going to look at the thorns and say, well, that just ruins everything? That is a mindset. That's a mindset. And some people's mindsets are anchored in very deep emotional things. And I help you work through that too. And it's not a reliving whatever happened. That's not what we do. What we look at is I teach you how to, basically in simplistic terms, you have a memory, something happened. That's keeping you anchored. What I help you do is detach the emotions from the memory. So you are able to talk about what happened whenever, wherever you want to. It doesn't even you don't have to tell me. That's not what this is about. This is about separating the two, that the emotions and the memory can be two separate things. And then we heal the emotional part so that you are no longer anchored to that, whatever that was that happened.
You're no longer victimized.
You're no longer whatever. If it's a series of things, if it's one thing, it makes no difference. There's an emotional anchor on it, and we detach that emotional anchor.
All right. So if you were an appliance in the kitchen.
You're cracking me up here.
Okay, would it be a cold ice glass of water? What would you be? What would you be?
Oh, if I were an appliance in the kitchen, well, the first thing that popped in my head, and I'll just go with that, is the refrigerator, because I do like the cold is a wonderful grounding, tells the brain to kind of settle down, brain, settle down, nervous system. And it's the keeper of all the important things, right?
Well, I'm usually the refrigerator, but today I'm going to be the garbage disposal.
Okay.
Because I want to grind up and dispose of the things that no longer serve.
There you go.
I want to
That's great.
I want to get rid of the waste.
Yeah,
You know, flush it down the drain, let it go.
that's
Let it go.
there you go. Love it.
If you could time travel, go back to the past, stay here in the present, project to the future, where would you land, Sherry?
Oh my goodness. Time travel, from a semi-realistic standpoint, because I am not a scientist, I wouldn't time travel because I'm like,
Wouldn't?
I'll be the one to mess something up. But I'd probably go back. I think the future, I don't even know what to expect of the future, but I think it would be kind of curious to go see the actual dinosaurs. What was it really like? Like,
Mm.
we don't know really what it was like. We have some evidence that we've then created a story around, and the story sounds reasonable, but we don't 100% know what it was really like. I'm kind of curious of what was it really like, and can I live long enough to get back to here?
Right, right, without being eaten by a pterodactyl.
Exactly.
Because they look pretty scary. They look
Yes.
scary. They look pretty scary. What's on your life list? What are 2 or 3 things that you still want to accomplish in this thing called life?
In my little pretend space in my head when I want to detach is I have a little hut on the beach. It is a place that doesn't get a whole lot of storms. I need a lot of sunshine, so this place probably doesn't exist. And my dogs and I can go walk on the beach every single day, and they can go play in the waves. I do love the ocean. I live right now, I grew up in Maryland, which is on the East Coast, so the ocean was never very far away. I now live in Arizona, which is a landlocked state, so there's no ocean nearby, and that's the one thing I miss. Even though when I was in Maryland, I didn't go to the ocean a lot, but I knew it was there.
Right, 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 right. And that's what
Just a couple
I live
hours.
here in San Diego, and I do not take advantage of the beach. Well, I wasn't, and I do now, and it is just so soothing to my soul.
It is.
It is very
It
soothing
is
to my
the
soul.
sounds, the smells,
Smells.
the water, the sand, the way the sun is just feels different there. I would like to have a little hut on the beach that costs next to nothing. See, I told you it's not realistic. Dogs and I play in the sand and the sun and the waves every day. And occasionally I have enough money where I'm okay, but I do still work with clients because that's important and that's my gifting. And I think that's
Mhm.
important. And I go to church and there's a cute little church there. And
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I could see you in Bali. I could see you in Fiji.
right.
Go on and take you a little 3 week sabbatical vacation and live your best life. Live your best life. And in closing, Sherry, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to
I,
be remembered?
I'm much more of there's a song, I think the group Casting Crowns does it, and I can be wrong about that, that says, it doesn't matter to me whether or not they remember me. I want them to remember Jesus.
Mm,
I want them to remember compassion and empathy. I want them to remember that there's someone they felt trust, that they felt loved. I want them to remember that. It doesn't matter to me whether they remember that it came from Sherry. It matters to me that they connected to the most important thing there is to connect to.
all right. Well, that's connecting to the heart, the spirit, and the breath. That's the most important thing that we can do and honoring and being grateful and gracious because everything that we have is a gift. You know,
Yes.
we talk about a lot of things that's going on in the world in our country right now, but we still live in the best country in the world. And so, again, you can't take that for granted. Even though we're going to argue with our family, we're going to argue with our friends, we're going to argue at work.
Yes.
There's going to be disagreements, but it's how you show up, it's how you process it. That's the
That's right.
important thing. So, tell
That's
our
right.
brains how to get in contact with you. I'd love for them to have a consultation with you, to do the deep dive, to understand really what a serious coach is. It's not about the fluff, it's not about the title, it's about the work. How do they
Yeah.
contact you, Sherry?
My favorite ways are find me on Facebook, find me on LinkedIn. They're both under my name,
Okay.
Sherry McClurkin. There's not very many Sherry McClurkins, though there is more than one, but you'll find me. Sherry McClurkin, Sherry.McClurkin is my Facebook, and Sherry-McClurkin, LinkedIn uses dashes. Sherry-McClurkin-Brain-Tamer is my LinkedIn. And just look it over and DM me. DM me. That's my favorite. DM me. If you want to email me, you're welcome to do that. It's Sherry@CoachSherry.com.
All right. Well, we're definitely going to put all your information at the back of the interview. We're going to run this on all of the major hotspots because I want you to win. Brains, I tell you that all the time. This is not about me.
Right.
I've talked to 2,000 people. I got 2,000 documented um, interviews. And I tell you, I think that I'm so smart sometimes until I talk to 2001, 2002.
Right.
It is an ever evolving situation. And I want you to ascend. I want you to live your best life. I want you to be able to navigate through the storm.
Yes.
You know, I want you to get in the belly of the whale and come out victorious. I want you to soar like the phoenix. I truly care about you. I truly care about you. That's why I went out and found Sherry and other great people like her here on the edge. So go back, listen to other edgy conversations. Love, like, share, and subscribe. Don't cost you nothing. You didn't pay to come up in here. At least you could pay attention. I love you. I'll talk to you again, Sherry, real soon, okay? All right. Bye, brains.